Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, or welcome if this is your first time. It's Tag Tuesday. I just want to share my school pride for my granddaughter's school, college, football, color guard. Go Bulldogs. All right, so that's done. Let's talk about this tag. I was tagged by Sue Jackson in the Childhood Books tag, and this was originally created by the channel Fantastic Magical in 2014. So it's been out for a while, and I'm so delighted that Sue Jackson tagged me because I kind of wanted to do something related to the books that I read in my childhood because it is my birthday month. I've done that before, but this is just a different way of doing it, and I'm super happy to do it. And hopefully I'm sharing new books with you. I'm not certain, but hopefully I am. I can't always remember what content I've already created. So there are 10 prompts, and if you would like to do this tag yourself, I encourage you to do that too. So this is your time, your channel. As a content creator, you decide what to do. So let's start with prompt number 1. The question is, were you a big reader as a child? Yes, absolutely. I read a lot of books. I was read to a lot when I was a child as well by family members, which I'll get to in a minute. And I remember definitely reading books in kindergarten. There's no question I have that memory. I think because I was introduced to books at a young age and because there were books all over my house, that probably prompted a desire to get that done. Prompt number 2, did my parents read to me? Yes, as did my sisters and my cousins and my teachers, and it was just a lovely experience of reading for me as a child. I suspect my aunts and uncles and grandparents read to me as well. I was surrounded by readers and surrounded by books. I can't think of a better thing to be surrounded by. And, I have since then kept up this sort of, this is my life, this is my priority. There have been times when I've read less, as I've shared with you, but it's always been a favorite pastime of mine. Books and me are like popcorn and butter. Number 3, the prompt is first bookish memory. I think I have shared this before, but I'm going to share it again because it is really one of my first. When I was young, my sisters we were on a vacation somewhere, but they didn't just do it on vacation, but that's my memory of it. We were on vacation in a motel, and they were playing a game, and it was called Authors. My partner found this for me a while ago for my birthday, I think. It was one of the greatest gifts she's ever given me because I remember this game. I played this game so much. So the premise of this game is that it has famous classic authors, Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist here, William Makepeace Thackeray. There are a couple of women in here. Let's see, James Fenimore Cooper, Whittier, Sir Walter Scott, Robert Louis Stevenson. There she is, Louisa May Alcott, Little Men. They also wrote Little Women. There's Little Women. Yeah, this was just the greatest. So it was a match game. You would draw cards, and then if you got a match of, the same author, more, I think it was 3 or more, then you got a win. But I loved remembering this. I loved watching them play this game. I loved when I was old enough to play it with them. It was just great. Absolutely great. I also remember having Dick and Jane books, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, but I remember those Dick and Jane books being with me on that particular holiday. So there's that. All right, number 4, be honest. Did you read books assigned to you in school? Yeah, I really did. I wanted to read them all. I don't even think I didn't finish any. There were a couple of professors as I got older that did not require us to read the entire book, especially in cases like Les Miserables or Wuthering Heights, I think was one we didn't have to read all of because we were looking at certain aspects of it. David Copperfield, there was one of the Dickens books we didn't have to read, but we had to, we had like a synopsis of it, and we had to look at certain points in history. So that one I think was a book that was given to us to read the synopsis of in my history class, but not necessarily in my literature classes. But yes, I read, if they assigned it, I read it and I finished it. There were no DNFs for me as a young person. Where did you get your books as a child? We went to the library a lot. I've talked about this before. It was where my love of libraries probably was born. I also got books from my parents, my sisters, my aunts and uncles. I got books from teachers, as I think I said earlier. People got me books all the time. Neighbors would give me books that their kids had outgrown. I was the person who took all the books that were offered to me. 6, did you watch any television meant to inspire reading? Yes, I did. So I watched Captain Kangaroo as a child. This really reveals my age. I watched Captain Kangaroo, and now and again, Captain Kangaroo would feature a book or read a book to us as viewers. And I also watched Sherry Lewis, who was a puppeteer, and she had a puppet named Lamb Chop. I loved Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop both, and Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop would also read books. And later on, she went to publishing books as well. So her name is spelled Shari Lewis. And so if you're interested in taking a look at that, she's, I think, still in print as far as I know. Number 7, what sorts of genres or stories did you like? I really loved books about dogs and animals of any kind. I liked books about other kids, hence the Dick and Jane books for sure. I loved books that were mysteries at that time too. I mean, as I got older, mysteries became more and more prevalent in my life. But so when I was really little, it was mostly kids and people. When I got older, it was detectives and mysteries and a little bit of thrillery stuff. 8, favorite children's or picture books. Okay, so I loved the Dick and Jane books. As I've said, I don't have any of those, but I remember loving Fun with Dick and Jane, Away We Go, Go Away Spot, which was the name of the dog. The dog was in Away We Go too. Who Can Help? And then there was one, Dick and Jane Go, 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 which I remember vividly. These were published in the 50s or 40s, I think. I don't even know when, to be quite honest, but they were old, and I enjoyed all of those very, very much. I also loved, I have a few here that I could tell you that I really loved as well. The Velveteen Rabbit was a big one for me. This is Marjorie Williams. This was published way before I was born as well, but gosh, I really loved that. I loved Golden Books. This one is very old. It also actually has teeth marks in it, so I'm going to assume one of my children did that and not me. But this one came out in, it was republished in 1994. So this is not the original, because that one I would have lost in the storm. But I really loved Little Golden Books. They were a favorite of mine. I loved Dr. Seuss as well. And I have Green Eggs and Ham somewhere, but it's not where it should be, so I couldn't pull that one out. But I remember Green Eggs and Ham, and I remember this one. And those were books that I read when I was young as well. And Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. That was a big favorite of mine too. I also loved The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats, but I don't remember if I was older when I read that, or if I think it was read to me. So I do remember loving The Snowy Day, and I do remember reading it or hearing it, listening to it, being read to me during a snowy year. So I wanted to read it then more and more and more because I love the snow. Absolutely love the snow. Okay, my favorite chapter or big kids books. Okay. I loved Charlotte's Web. Despite how difficult and sad it was, I really did love Charlotte's Web, and I read it more than one time as well. I loved The Little Prince, which was fairly small, but it was a bit of a stretch for me. And as I grew up, I loved it and read it more than once. I loved A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, I guess is how you would say it. This has been made into a major motion picture. I recently got a copy of this again because I really did love it and I wanted to have it for my grandkids. I also loved and have talked about this before, The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. This is one, see, dog, kid, me. That was just like, it was made for me. Basil of Baker Street, which is a mouse who is a Sherlock Holmes kind of character, or the sidekick for Sherlock Holmes, essentially, and love this one. I could read and read and read that again. In fact, I might read it during my birthday month. Bobbsey Twins. This is a three mysteries in one, but I did love the Bobbsey Twins as well. This is Twins of Lakeport, Twins Adventure in the Country, and The Secret at the Seashore. Three of my favorites. Nancy Drew. I was gifted some Nancy Drews as a kid, and I've replaced all of these, you can probably tell, except for Basil. He survived the storm, and the Phantom Tollbooth survived the storm, and the Bobbsey Twins survived the storms. But Clue of the Velvet Mask is just a random one I found in a store. So I've always really loved Nancy Drew and Carolyn Keene, who really isn't Carolyn Keene, but that's a whole nother story. Maybe I'll do a whole thing about that. So this one is Ready or Not by Mary Stoltz. My partner also found this one for me on eBay, and this was more of a tween read for me. This is about teenagers in the 50s or so, I think, if I'm guessing. But this was about Morgan Connor. Her mother dies. Her sister and brother are very upset, obviously, and are children younger than her, and her dad is very isolating now. He's obviously grieving, and he doesn't know what to do with these kids by himself. And so she kind of takes on a surrogate mother role for them. But I just remember loving this, and I wouldn't mind rereading this one soon too, because it's been so long. And she also wrote To Tell Your Love and The Seagulls Woke Me. But this is old, old, old. But I love that I have it. Then when I was 9, I think, my cousin gave me a copy of Little Women, and I wish I could have that copy again, but it's very, very expensive and out of print, obviously. But I will show you the big annotated version, which I would like to get to at some point, which my partner also got me. She's great at buying books for me. This is a big, big, big hardcover, very, very heavy. I just don't know. I would have to get this one chapter at a time, I guess. Maybe that's a goal. But this was originally published in 1868. I still love it. I still reread it. I have other copies of it. Well, at least one other copy of it now that I got from Sarah Swan a few years ago. So reading it in that way would be easier. But this one is annotated. So I really kind of want to get to that too. But let me just say, I think the favorite of mine of all time, and the one that I remember reading over and over and couldn't get enough of, is the Winnie the Pooh series by A. A. Milne. Now, with decorations by E. H. Shepard, that's what they call them, decorations. I love Winnie the Pooh. I feel like I am a person who grew up in Pooh Corner and just didn't know it and then came back in another lifetime, I guess. I don't know, but I absolutely have always loved Winnie the Pooh. These were read to me as a young child too, but I also then wanted to learn how to read so I could read them myself because I was pretty independent as a child. And I am so grateful that my partner gave me this edition years ago. So it's very heavy as well. All the books are in there. But just the other day, early birthday gift, she found this for me. This is the original one that we had in our house. And I was so excited to see it. This also came from some site, probably like eBay. She has all kinds of places she shops. It is old. It is definitely fragile in the binding, so I have to be really careful with it. But this has the original illustrations in it as well. And it's just perfect. It is perfection. So you can imagine that one is very special to me. And the last prompt, number 10, is favorite children's series. So in addition to Winnie the Pooh, the other one that stands out for me is The Borrowers by Mary Norton. I don't have a copy of this anymore. I would love to reread that as an adult as well, but this one was absolutely one of my favorites. I could not stop reading it, I remember. This one is about a little tiny little family who live in the home of not tiny little people. And they are living in, I think was it the attic or the basement? Now, I can't remember. It's been so long, obviously, but they were hidden in this home and they would sneak out into the home and they would take things that they really needed to be able to survive. Okay. And so one of the things I remember them taking, and I hope I'm not wrong about this, maybe if you've read it, you could tell me. I remember them taking a spool of thread, or a thimble that was, really heavy for these little people. But Homily is the mom, and Pod is the dad, and Arietti is the little girl. But Pod goes out to get something one day, and he's discovered by someone in the house. And I just remember it was suspenseful, it was sweet, and I just loved, loved, loved that family of the borrowers. So if I were to get another book this month, I guess that, really speaks to me as the child in the childlike Lori, it would probably be The Borrowers. So there's that. Okay, so thanks for watching this tag video. I love doing tag videos. I need to catch up, and I only prioritize this one because it was my birthday month, but I am going to get to the others. I have a few that I owe to Tammy at Believe in Your Shelf, and another couple people too, but I do love them, so don't stop tagging me just because I don't get to them. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you're as old as me, or maybe your parents or grandparents had them on the shelves and you were introduced to them too. Let me know which ones you think you would have liked as a child. That's always fun. And in the comments below, if you don't want to share anything about what you liked or what you read, you can just put a little emoji in, and you can put a small child, or you can put a spool of thread, or you can put a little mouse or Winnie the Pooh, or whatever you want to put in the comments, just to let me know that you were here. I just appreciate it very, very much. Happy Tag Tuesday to all of you, and as always, happy reading. Bye.